Jaya Prabhupada. So we continue Adi-lila, chapter 9, text 38. Please repeat. Atma Caitanya vriksha sinchi nirantara. Tahate asankhya phala vrikshera upara. Atma Caitanya vriksha sinchi nirantara. Tahate asankhya phala vrikshera upara. Atma Caitanya, Atma self, Icha Amrite, by the nectar of the will, Vriksha, the tree, Sinchi, sprinkle, Nirantara, constantly, Tahate, there, Asankhya, unlimited, Phala, fruits, Vrikshera, on the tree, Upara, upper. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. By the transcendental desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, water has been sprinkled all over the tree. Thus there are innumerable fruits of love of Godhead. Please repeat. By the transcendental desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, water has been sprinkled all over the tree, and thus there are innumerable fruits of love of Godhead. Purport. God is unlimited, and His desires are also unlimited. This example of unlimited fruits is factually appropriate even within the material context. For with goodwill of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there can be enough fruits, grains, and other foodstuffs produced so that all the people in the world could not finish them, even if they ate 10 times their capacity. In this material world, there is actually no scarcity of anything but Krishna consciousness. If people become Krishna conscious by the transcendental will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there will be enough foodstuffs produced so that people will have no economic problems at all. One can very easily understand this fact. The production of fruits and flowers depends not upon our will, but the supreme will of the Personality of Godhead. If He is pleased, He can supply enough fruits, flowers, etc. But if people are atheistic, godless, nature by His will restricts the supply of food. For example, in several provinces in India, especially Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and other adjoining states, there is sometimes a great scarcity of foodstuffs due to lack of rainfall. So-called scientists, economists cannot do anything about this. Therefore, to solve all problems, one must seek the goodwill of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by becoming Krishna conscious and worshipping regularly in devotional service. Read the verse again. By the transcendental desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, water has been sprinkled all over the tree. Thus, there are innumerable fruits of love of Godhead. So, I'll just read, just a second, just to refresh our memory of the chapter. I'll just read the introductory. There's a few lines here just to we can connect the text. So Adi-lila chapter 9. A summary of chapter 9 has been given as follows by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhasya. In the 9th chapter, the author of Caitanya Caritamrita has devised a figurative example by describing the plant of bhakti. He considers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as Vishvambara, to be the gardener of this plant, because he is the main personality who has taken charge of it. As the supreme enjoyer, he enjoyed the flowers himself and distributed them as well. The seed of the plant was first sown in Navadvip, the birth site of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then the plant was brought to Purushottama Kshetra, Jagannath Puri. Then to Vrindavan. The seed fructified first in Srila Madhavendra Puri, then his disciple Ishvara Puri. It is figuratively described that both the tree itself and the trunk of the tree are Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The devotees headed by Paramananda Puri and 8 other great sannyasis like the spreading roots of the tree. From the main trunk, they extend 2 special branches, Advaita Prabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And from those branches grow other branches and twigs. The tree surrounds the entire world, and the flowers of the tree are to be distributed to everyone. In this way, the tree of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu intoxicates the entire world. It should be noted that this is a figurative example meant to explain the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we are in this particular verse, text 38. So this are very figurative example. The transcendental potencies of the Lord, His supreme will, which based on His love for the conditioned souls. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu devised the plan. His transcendental tree manifesting in this world, which represents His love, affection to the fallen jivas, trying to reclaim them. So great personalities, close associates of Mahaprabhu, also taking birth to be part of this transcendental tree of love of Godhead. And ultimately it represents Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Started by, before the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Madhavendra Puri made the preparations for the seed of bhakti to propagate the transcendental Sri Harinama Sankirtan Yagna, which is ultimately reinforced and reintroduced by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself to spread the fruits of love of Godhead. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had these great personalities, confidential associates, ultimately from Krishna Lila. So they're coming down here to uplift the consciousness of human society, to help us to revive our original consciousness, understand our eternal connection with the Supreme, and render loving devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has many reasons for his appearance. He had his confidential reasons, which we understand to some extent. He came here to taste the divine pastimes of Radha and Krishna, trying to understand the mood of Srimati Radharani, trying to understand the mood of Krishna. He tastes that love, that mellow, that rasa, that ruchi. This is a very important reason. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself comes to taste that mood, that sweetness, that bhava, what Srimati Radharani felt for Krishna. There was a beautiful pastimes at the time of Gundicha Temple cleanse. The Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when just the Rath began, just about to begin, approached Lord Jagannath. Because the Jagannath cart suddenly stopped. No one could move the cart, so they had to call Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to move the cart. And of course, many could not understand who Caitanya Mahaprabhu was, but they could understand he's a great saintly personality. So he may able to request Lord Jagannath to move the cart. And Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu looked upon Lord Jagannath, and tears flowing from his eyes. Dear Lord Jagannath, I'm the same Radharani, and you are the same Krishna. I'm here to taste the nectar of devotion service to you. And Lord Jagannath responded to Caitanya Mahaprabhu that finally we understand this. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to experience this very deep, confidential lila. Only him and Krishna could understand, of course. But we can enjoy, we can relish, we can get inspiration, we can get purification, we can get love of Krishna by hearing these beautiful lilas, pastimes, divine pastimes of Krishna, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And the other reasons Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's advent is to express his unconditional love and compassion for the fallen jivas. Ultimately, we all belong to his lotus feet. Somehow or other, due to being fallible, we fall into this material atmosphere and we're wandering life after life, searching for that prema, searching for that love that we don't have just like that. Therefore, we are restricted by material conditions. We are helpless until a Krishna Bhakta comes, a powerful Mahabhagavata, who gives that seed of love, what Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu planted and became a large tree, a transcendental tree, which the introduction explains. And not only that, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, after reclaiming the fortunate souls, advises us, requesting us, instructing us to share these fruits to everyone. Share the flowers of this tree, which is pure love of Godhead, pure Sri Nama, the holy names of Sri Krishna. So, as aspiring devotees, we should try to understand these moods of Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, the beautiful pastimes, the instructions, the lessons, the examples, take inspiration and be part of that instrument, transcendental instrument. Be part of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's ongoing, ever-growing tree of love of Godhead. The roots and the foundations, of course, Ishvara Puri, Madhavendra Puri, the Goswamis, they set the foundation for us, set the roots of this tree. But ultimately we can all be part of it if we want to, if we are eager. So we should be eager to connect with Caitanya Mahaprabhu through the process of devotional service. And so that way we can distribute this love of Krishna freely to everyone, and somehow or other encourage whoever come to Krishna consciousness to take up the process of devotional service very seriously. So this is our duty more than just a choice. We should take it up. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu also advised whoever takes birth in Bharatavash should take it seriously and distribute this message of Lord Krishna wherever, every village and town. We should try to. It's a mission here, obviously. It's a very noble mission established by Srila Prabhupada for us in the Western world. Srila Prabhupada represents the Sri Parampara for us to the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswamis. So we take shelter of his teachings and his representatives, of course. We are servants of the devotees. So we remain humble servants of the Vaishnavas in the service of Srila Prabhupada. So we can somehow or other be a powerful, effective instrument as well. Once we are empowered by the acharyas, by the spiritual master, by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, then we can have impact on this world. And in this particular purport, Srila Prabhupada explains simple examples that in the material world, due to ignorance, atheism taking place. And because of godlessness, there is no yagna performed. And Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that in Vedic times, Pancha Mahayagna was performed. So people worship various demigods for supplying the necessities of life, just like in Krishna's pastimes. The residents of Rajabhumi, they approached Lord Indra regularly, offered Indra Puja. Of course, this is indirect way. And devotees understand that ultimately Krishna supplies Yagna Purusha. So we perform the yagna for his pleasure, offer the sacrifice for him. And in this age, we all know the most powerful and most recommended process is Shri Harinam Sankirtan. So this is Sankirtan Yagna. This is a very important process, and there are several verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita, also in the 11th canto, that those who are endowed with sufficient intelligence, they participate in the Sankirtan movement of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this Kali Yuga, if we have actual intelligence, we want to participate in this beautiful mission of Mahaprabhu, noble mission. And that way we are also being an effective, powerful instrument to manifest the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to help others share the love of Godhead, share this happiness of Krishna consciousness with everyone. But to do that, we also have to become good sadhakas, practice devotion service properly, as Srila Prabhupada set the standard for us. So we can understand the essence of Krishna consciousness and then distribute it. In the material world, we can see that economical problems and all kinds of social unrest and difficulties manifest due to godlessness, due to ugra karma, sinful activities, ignoring the supremacy of the Lord, or simply do not care for self-realization. This is just the age we live in. It's a very declining, very difficult age actually. And we can see it in front of our eyes, and even on a day-to-day basis, that so much anxiety, mental anxiety, confusion, hopelessness, helplessness, food scarcities in certain countries, lack of rainfall, difficulties manifesting not just in individual but also collectively, globally. This is because there's no yagna performed and people are engrossed in sinful activities due to godlessness. It's a very simple equation. Godlessness means suffering, basically, and scarcity. We have more droughts, we have fires, floods, natural calamities, and people are perplexed. Governments are perplexed. They're trying to find some kind of material solution, patch-up solution, but there is no actual solution except performing the Sankirtan Yagna, which is recommended by the higher authorities, not to speak of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Everything happens by the goodwill of Krishna. See, once we understand that, we endeavor accordingly. Growing grains, foodstuff, fruits and vegetables, simple process but we need the will and the sanction of the Lord. So we're not able to do anything without His mercy, without His blessings. So if human society takes notice of these instructions and act accordingly, then we will have opulence. There's no scarcity in this world. But what is happening is we are lack of God consciousness, lack of Krishna consciousness. Even Srila Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Goswami often expressed that actually there's nothing lacking in this world, food stuff, and if anything lacks here is Krishna consciousness, God consciousness. It may be unfairly distributed, may be exploited, may be suffering this way, that way, but ultimately what lacks here, what is the scarcity, is Krishna consciousness. To understand that our endeavor, our service, our sacrifices should be offered to the Supreme first of all. Then the blessings will come. Then everything will come to us to live in a civilized way. Therefore, Krishna advised Nanda Maharaj. Although Nanda Maharaj was dutiful, he respected the devas, the authorities and the suppliers, the Ishwaras. Krishna explained that if you worship Govardhan hill, then all your desires will be fulfilled. All your needs, agriculture, the cows, everything will be happy. And this is a very simple example that when we offer our attention and love and service to Krishna, all our personal necessities of life, anything what we really need to function as a human being in a civilized way, in a God-conscious way, will be there. Krishna assures us. Just give up all these so-called adharmas, irreligions. Just surrender unto me. Have faith in this process. I'll give you full protection. Do not fear. Krishna says many times, do not fear. Because the living entities are so bewildered by this material existence, this phenomena of godlessness, that they cannot fully understand who the Supreme is and who is the ultimate provider. Therefore, often they, instead of worshipping the Supreme and approaching Him, they all go to different so-called suppliers. Just like communists, they were claiming to be the suppliers in the former Soviet Union. And they were preaching against God consciousness actually. You don't need to approach God, come to us. We supply you with food, with grains, and that's what they did. They went to the villages and they preached against God consciousness, that there's no such a thing, this is just a belief system, this is just irrational. So we give you the grains, we give you the food stuff, come to us, we are the authority for you. Unfortunately, there's a misunderstanding of real communism, and so anything without understanding Krishna, the Supreme Provider, the Supreme Purusha, we cannot really understand these things. We remain on the material platform. At the Vaishnava culture, the spiritual communism, it's higher level, because we understand that Krishna is in the center, so we offer our love and devotion to Him in the service of the Lord. So in that way, Krishna is always there in the center. That's the real communism. When we understand everything belongs to Him, He is the supreme enjoyer, supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. So when we understand these simple truths, then our life will be perfected. We will be happy in this world. Everything will be there for us. Krishna, the enjoyer of sacrifices, will provide. He provides already anyway. But now, because of karmic destiny, things are restricted. And the consequences of ugra karma, sinful activities, are very severe. Until the leaders of this world understand this, will be ongoing suffering. No matter what they do, unfortunately. It gets worse and worse. The only hope, the only solution for this world is Krishna consciousness. We have to be convinced as sadhakas, devotees of, aspiring devotees of Krishna, that without Krishna consciousness, no one can be happy. No one. There's no question of happiness. No question of meaningful life. So when we understand the pages of Sri Caitanya Caritamrita and the beautiful teachings, not to speak of the purpose of Srila Prabhupada, then we can come to a realization that we have a very valuable knowledge here. Not only for our own happiness, but for the happiness of the whole world. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu divided this beautiful tree, transcendental tree, which may be metaphoric or symbolic or figurative, but actually it's like a tree, spreading and spreading and spreading. So, by time, this movement of Mahaprabhu will save humanity in the darkest hour. It's already very difficult. And the devotees have to be tolerant also, because we are in the material world and difficulties will come. And somehow or other we have to hang on to the lotus feet of the holy names and to the Vaishnavas, not to give up ever. Always remain as a humble devotee, humble servant. Then Krishna will give us protection, divine protection, because we are submissive to Him, we are surrendering to Him. We have that faith, simple faith. And when we have that one, then we are under His protection. Of course, to do that, we have to constantly remind ourselves. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. These are very important, because we need to stimulate that knowledge, always, not just sometimes, always. Read the pages of Bhagavad Gita, read the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, and instead of wasting time in useless talks on mundane politics or whatever, let's talk about Krishna and His beautiful pastimes. And when we understand the sweet nectarian pastimes, then we are inspired. Yes, this is it. This is the way to help others to be happy, help humanity to find some relief. And Srila Prabhupada often preached to leaders of countries, scientists, because they were important people, very influential people, so hoping against hope that have some kind of impact on them. He was keen to meet with presidents if he had the chance, or the president of India, or whoever, because Prabhupada knew that the leaders are blind themselves, and the scientists often use the word rascals because they exploiting scientific knowledge in the service of atheistic propaganda. I call it demonism, not communism, demonism. See? So we're moving into a very difficult era, and of course Krishna has a plan. We should remain faithful and depending on Krishna. We should not be fearful, because sometimes, because we are conditioned souls, we may feel that things going really bad in a society and what to do and what not to do. We should just hang on to the process, not to be in anxiety. The body should remain calm and be faithful. And this is when Krishna will protect us, and He's already protecting us. We just have to realize that a bit more clearly. So otherwise, in the material world, we can see now more and more problems manifesting right in front of our eyes, because Kali Yuga is such. And to enter the mini golden age, which is predicted, has to be some purification. We can see that. So sometimes the purification comes in a painful way, to say for the whole human society. If they don't take the process of devotional service, they don't give any notice or attention, then Krishna and the devas will turn up the tap. And you can see, they're already afraid of food shortages and problems and so many things happening, this or that. And so they don't know that there's a Yagna Purusha, what to do, what not to do. Ignorance. Therefore, the root cause of all suffering is ignorance, which manifests in godlessness, atheism, isms. And the scientists, they're also blind because they're again ignoring the Supreme. They're very carefully avoiding the Supreme. That's why you see science and religiosity don't match. Actually, scientists consciously avoid topics of religion, dharma, or anything spiritual. They may come a bit closer with quantum physics and this and that, fancy words and scientific things, but they cannot really understand, they cannot have a bridge between science and God consciousness. They don't have the access. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he doesn't reveal himself to such unfaithful personalities. He only reveals himself to the bhakta, to the devotee of Krishna, who has love and devotion. Krishna, yes, he'll gradually reveal himself to us according to our surrender, according to our devotion. So the material world is in darkness. Therefore, Caitanya Mahaprabhu urging us, especially in this chapter, to participate in this beautiful plan he devised, a beautiful tree of spreading Krishna consciousness. And you can see Srila Prabhupada was the most attractive and most perfect example of spreading Krishna consciousness. And he had so many, even to the present day, so many disciples, grand disciples, feeling the same spirit of preaching, helping, sharing love of Krishna. We may not be advanced, but we understand the mood of the spiritual master, especially Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder, Acharya, of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So we should try to understand the mind and the mission of Guru. And we try to facilitate, try to help him, assist him. In whatever service we can do it from that consciousness. Let's do it for Srila Prabhupada, let's do it for the devotees, and help the world. The whole world is in crisis. Who can deny that? It's a very serious crisis and gets worse. So we have to be strong in our faith. Like I said earlier, hang on to the lotus feet of the holy name, constantly chant the holy name, Sri Nam, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And not to be depressed by anything material, because they're bombarding everyone. Material propaganda, demonism. Devotees should be very faithful, hang on to the Shastras, hang on to the Vaishnavas, and remain in devotional service, no matter what. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj had left a few essays and instructions to his disciples just before passing away. And he said that we should never give up the process of devotional service, never. Regardless of all dangers and difficulties or whatever, never. Just stay with Krishna, and Krishna will protect you, takes care of you. Difficulties will come individually and collectively. I remember when I used to visit my parents in Hungary in the early 80s. I was Pujari in Sydney Temple. And Hungary used to be behind the Iron Curtains. It was so difficult for the devotees. And we were constantly under the watch of the secret agencies. And we had home programs. And so much, we were constantly praying to Krishna, please, Nishingadev. And at that time, Shiva Ram Maharaj became the GBC for Hungary. There was practically nothing much there, just only a couple of devotees. And I was just spending a few months there helping Maharaj to do hold cooking feasts or whatever. And amazing that just the devotees' faith and prayer and sincerity, depending on Krishna and the holy name, it was so pure. They were really dependent on Krishna, because really we had no other shelter, only Krishna. So then when difficulties come, we should not give up. We should just humbly serve the devotees and stay in the movement of Mahaprabhu. And then this prediction that we also distribute the fruits and flowers of this tree. So our life will be meaningful, fulfilled, and of course we will be happy. Just like Jayananda Prabhu is so ecstatic because he had pure, simple faith in Srila Prabhupada. He just simply served the devotees. He was not ambitious for positions or power or anything. He just simply serve the Vaishnavas and be satisfied. Hare Krishna. Is there any comments, questions? Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
There's a lot of production in the world still.
Yeah.
Even though there's so much impious activity going on.
Yeah.
But I suppose how is that happening? There's so much production, there's so much simple activity.
Yeah, it's my understanding. Good question. Thank you, Prabhu. Is that you see karmic destiny? Prabhu asked that so much production happening even now, in spite of all the karma and sinful activities and ignorance, and how come? You see, my understanding is that there is individual and collective karma also. It's a karmic destiny. So obviously, just to take birth in a Western country, with technological societies and the Western glamour and so-called freedom, which is taken away gradually. It's also karma. Everything has a reason. There's an underlying cause, and but it gets worse. So we may have that a good advantage, but if we don't take advantage of the opportunities of Krishna consciousness, we'll gradually be taken away all that, whatever. But why we have this? Because of some karma there. I remember one morning walk conversation, Srila Prabhupada and his disciples in New Zealand, I think, as I remember. And one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, people in New Zealand are so friendly and so pious and such nice communities, but there's so much cow killing going on. Why is that? How come these apparent contradictions? And Srila Prabhupada said eventually the karma will manifest more and more. They had some piety from the past, so they're getting some rewards. The demigods are also rewarding accordingly. But as sinful activities become more prominent in this world, which is very, very deep and prominent now, and gets worse as time goes on, there will be more and more restrictions. So societies will struggle, and will be some kind of calamity, civil unrest, droughts, fires, floods. You can see, which is kind of happening more or less already. And so that's what I can say. Some kind of karmic destiny that which have no control. The only thing to do is to actually embrace the yajna, the Sankirtan yajna, is to attract the attention of the Supreme and the demigods. Because the demigods will turn off the resources, turn off the tap basically. Too much sinful activity is going on. And that's why in Vedic times, particularly the Brahminical class, they were so particular about performing the yajnas, even just to recognize some of the authorities like the devas, the powerful devas, to supply the goods and necessities of life, because they could understand that everything has to be sanctioned, has to be requested. We cannot do anything by ourselves. We have to make the effort individually and collectively, but Krishna actually supplies. By His will, as Prabhupada says, by His will things will happen. So it's a bit contradictory because they have some piety from the past, but now they're burning up, they're destroying that, the sinful activities. So that's what I can say. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.